Rich man versus poor man middle ground. This is gonna be the most interesting video I've seen. Everybody thinks different when it comes to money.
So the thing is, if people actually research credit and learn how to build it properly, it's easy to get money. And the cool thing about credit is, if you invest and you fuck up, you could just let it go to collections and dispute it all out anyway.
Yeah, there's someone that suffers at the end of that system. So.
I was making money and I was paying my bill every single month. So I wasn't just buying like Beats by Dre or dumb
But where
shit.
did it go wrong? Because, I mean, with respect, you're on the other side now.
Step forward if you've made less than 1K in 2024. Less than 10K in 2024. Less than 40K in 2024. Less than 60K in 2024. Less than 300K in 2024. Less than 600K in 2024. Less than 5 million in 2024.
W's in the shot.
Less than 9 million in 2024.
Less than 10.
Is that even a
Hey, you gotta clap with the guy, bro. I mean, that's where you gotta be friends with him or ask him, yo, what's going on, brother? You know, what do? You know, connect. This is the opportunity for the poor guys to connect with the rich guy. See all my guys creeping on him like, man, this motherfucker made 9 million. Should give me half of it. Nah, bro, you need to connect with him.
We're clapping for the rich guy?
Men should be the breadwinner of the family. Can the agreeers please step forward?
Ooh.
I grew up in a pretty traditional Muslim household, and it's like very common for like the man to kind of be the breadwinner, and like that's the tradition I grew up. So I have very strong beliefs in that. I do think that there are abstractions, like there are times where women are the breadwinners and vice versa, but I don't think that it should, like for me, like the way that I've grown up, the way that my family's grown up for many years, many generations, it's been a tradition that like the man is very responsible for taking care of his family and the financials of kind of this unit. And I don't plan on changing that, so it's something I just believe in. But that doesn't mean there's room for abstraction. People can switch it up, but yeah, that's what I believe.
This guy, the way he grew up is different than most of those guys who didn't come up, because it's a traditional thing, right? Growing up in a family coming out like Middle East or Africa, that's a whole different type of thing, because the Western culture is way different with this corporate world coming in. Everybody gotta work. Things are getting expensive. It's like you need a car, you need 2 cars, 3 cars, you know? It's not like you need, it's just like you want, you know? There's a want society. An average person as a man who has like a family of 3, even 2, they cannot keep up with the living expenses because the wanting society is crazy in the West.
Can the disagreeers please step forward?
The reason why I disagreed is because I think you should just do whatever works for your relationship. In my relationship personally, yes, I'm the one who does the providing and the protecting, and that works great for us. But that doesn't mean it works well for everybody else. I mean, if you're dating a boss lady who works in tech and she makes like 500 grand a year, like you don't need to stretch yourself out if you're like, you know, you work in a factory making 36K.
So I agree with you 100%. I think you should do whatever works best for y'all relationship. But I notice now in modern dating, a lot of women have this expectation on, oh, the man should be doing this, and that. And I don't necessarily like that, because these expectations put you in a weird position, especially if you feel like you're not really receiving much in return.
In my current relationship, I was so upfront with my partner. I said, I'm gonna be a teacher. I'm not gonna be able to be the sole provider. I wanna be a high school teacher, maybe a college teacher. That's my passion, that's what I wanna do, that's how I wanna give back to the world. And she said, I love that about you, that's one of my favorite things about you, and we're gonna make that work. I'm gonna work, she's gonna work, and we gotta get through it somehow. It's really hard to survive in this capitalist society right now with having just one provider. I mean, I think everyone on this side of the room probably can if you're the rich man, but a lot of us, we need 2 incomes. It's just not possible for the man to be the sole provider, breadwinner.
The reason that I put that
He made a choice. He said, I want to be a teacher, point blank. If you want to be more than a teacher, I want to start a tech company, or I want to start a company, teaching supply, or some sort of company. But he made a decision saying, hey, look, I'm just going to be a teacher. Choices at the end of the day. The choice you make, you got to adjust to it. He understands that, which is perfect. Most people don't understand. And then they'll be like, oh, I hate rich people, blah, blah, blah. You chose a career, man. These guys who's rich, some of them, they have to make a choice. I got to make some bread, bro.
expectation of myself is because like I also expect other expectations of my wife, right? Like I'm not gonna marry a woman that's not gonna be able to take care of my children, right? Like I think that's one expectation that I have. And once again, this is not an arbitrary thing where it's like, it has to be this way or that way. It's just what I believe.
I think we all have our expectations in relationships, and as long as we communicate those with a partner and are super upfront with that, there's no problem.
I only disagree with the characterization of the premise that men should be the breadwinner, as if we should be conforming to traditional gender roles in this society.
I think there's a term that I learned maybe last year is financial compatibility, and I think that's one thing that is really important in a relationship, because if you're making a lot of money and your partner isn't really, and because I personally think that a relationship, both people should work, both people should be just contributing. But if someone's making a lot more than the other one, then it will always feel just incompatible, because it'll always cause the other person to feel, oh, like I'm paying more, I'm contributing more, I'm working more.
I was gonna say, I think there's a bit of nuance there. I'm in a polyamorous relationship where I make significantly more than my partners. One of them is an RBT, so they work, minimum wage, working for schools, working grueling hours with kids with disabilities, and so it's a very hard life for them. And we've been together for over 3 years now. And there's never been a sense of me putting myself and my income above them, or using that as a, hey, I'm going to lead the household and I'm going to make the decisions on my own because I'm the primary one bringing in the significant, revenue into the household. It definitely comes down to the relationship itself, because they knew me when I was working for minimum wage jobs. And so because of that, just because I'm in a place now, tomorrow I could have nothing. I know that the love would still be there and a relationship would still be strong. So while there can be definitely situations where an income, inequality would impact a relationship, I think it speaks more so to the depth and the strength of the relationship itself, rather than the inequality being the main driver for any sort of issues in that relationship.
Have you never felt that it's just kind of unfair that you're putting so much in, and the other, I'm just generally
asking. No, not at all. Because I've been in relationships where I was the one who was working at Chick-fil-A making $9.25 an hour, and I was my girlfriend had a $60,000 job in DC, and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much for taking me out to dinner or something. And so that mentality of that reciprocity of if I'm going to be there for you emotionally, you're helping me with my finances, we're in this together as a partnership. That's what's really carried those relationships through. And I've never, again, I know that everything could disappear tomorrow. So there's no feeling of, well, I'm doing all this, why are you not putting in as much effort? They're working super hard. And so just because they didn't have the same connections or opportunities that I had means nothing to the fact that they're worth less or something to me.
To piggyback off that too, for me in my relationships, I've always made more, and it didn't really tend to bother me. I think people are driven by passion, and not all careers pay the same. But if the person I'm with is really passionate about what they're doing, I admire that.
That speaks a lot to me, because ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be so rich and successful to where my wife didn't have to work if she didn't want to. My kids could do whatever the hell they wanted to do. And so I kind of did that with my ex when I was thriving. We didn't have kids. I got an episode for that, you believe, what I mean, right? But not, we didn't have kids, but it was just the fact that my ex didn't have to work, and I helped put her in that position. So that made me feel good. I think a lot of people in relationships, there's an ego thing with it. So if the man ain't making enough money, he feels less than a man, and then he treats his girl a different way, and then that creates problems. Or his girl don't respect him or treats him a different way, and then that creates problems. I think as long as you're doing what works for your relationship, old boy said right here, right? I think that's what matters most.
It's a cultural issue.
It's also an antiquated approach, right? What is the term, trad wife or something?
Traditional.
Yeah,
well, traditional.
Yeah.
Which I don't even care for. I don't. I've been in 5 different committed relationships, but my whole thing is, I don't expect my girl to cook for me. I don't expect her to clean for me. I don't expect you to do nothing for me except be yourself. And as long as we good, we good.
No, I think what you're touching on is that, and what you've touched on as well, is there's all these different ways that relationships can work. And I think they can work in every way. I want a different relationship than what you want, but both can absolutely work, and there are pitfalls for both too, and you just have to avoid those pitfalls. Of course, yeah.
You know, I'm married, I have 2 kids, and I would say have more of a traditional relationship, and I love it, and it's wonderful, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I know that what works for me doesn't necessarily work for everybody in this room.
I don't know about you guys too, but like, so in the relationships I've been in, I have made more than my partner, but if they did make more than me, I would be stoked.
Yeah.
That's
I would love to say that.
Right, like who would get mad about that?
I will put on the maid dress and I will mop the floor.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
I'll be the coolest house husband ever.
Yeah, it is an ego thing.
Walking home with a little glass of wine, I'll be sitting there like, can I get you anything, honey? Like, would you like me to take your shoes off, give you a little massage, whatever you need?
I kind of love spoiling my wife and my kids. I mean, partly because I grew up, I mean, my mom was making $10 an hour raising 3 kids. So the fact that now I'm in a position where I can, you know, spoil the people that I'm with, I kind of love doing that.
I know I'm not going to be able to spoil her with like a million diamond rings and stuff like that, but I can spoil her in other ways. I can make dinner for us. I can plan things for us.
There's balance, so someone could be supporting financially, but someone else is supporting emotionally. And I think as long as you're aware of that balance, that could be like a secret to a healthy relationship. But if that balance kind of fades out in the dark, then that's when, you know.
Yeah, in my tradition, we have a very strong belief that like marriage is like a fortress. It's like, as you're one pillar of it, your wife is another. And in America, we have this conception of like love marriages. You marry people you love. In Islam, we have a much more like deeper sense of that, in the sense of like, it's not just love, it's family ties. Like your family and their family are now one unit.
Families are getting married.
And so you have like multiple pillars, and then you have like, if you're religious, right, you have like this ethical and moral compass that aligns with the other, and that's another compass. And then like, can you benefit each other in knowledge as well? So there's many other pillars. So if one breaks, there's another to stand on.
At the end of the day, it just comes down to choices. It's what you choose to do, and that's how it goes. You know, minimize your living expenses and live your life. The Western world, everything is like keeping up. You know, you're on social media, you see somebody bought a Range Rover, and now somehow you need a better car than that. You know what I mean?